My beloved child, please do not scroll away. Do not let the loud, demanding noises of this world pull your attention away for another second. Stay here with me just for this one moment. I know the world around you is rushing by, but I also know that your soul is crying out in absolute silence. This message did not find you by accident today. I ordained this very second for you to hear these words, because I see what the world cannot see. I see your broken heart. I see the heavy burden you have been carrying for far too long. Have you looked in the mirror lately and noticed the deep lines of worry etched across your forehead? Have you felt the physical ache of those dark shadows beneath your eyes, from long nights spent tossing and turning? Those are not just the marks of aging, my child. They are the physical map of a spirit that is utterly exhausted. I see how your shoulders slump the moment you are finally alone in your room. I see how your breath catches in your chest as you swallow back the tears you refuse to let anyone else see. You have put on a brave face for everyone else. You have worn the heavy armor of strength, pretending that everything is fine while inside you feel like everything is slowly crumbling to dust. You have tried to pick up the sharp, shattered pieces of your heart and glue them back together with your own fading strength. But the harder you try, the more exhausted and wounded you become. Do not hide from me, my precious child. You do not have to pretend to be okay when you are standing before me. You do not have to pray with perfect, powerful words when your throat is tight with sorrow. I am your Father, and I have kept a record of every single tear you thought fell unnoticed in the dark. I was there when people walked away. I was there when careless words pierced your chest like arrows. I was there when you felt entirely abandoned, betrayed, and stripped of your worth. I know there are nights you looked up and whispered, "Lord, why are you letting me hurt like this? Have you forgotten me?" But hear the truth of heaven today. I have never ever forgotten you. Psalm 34:18 promises that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The distance between us was never widened by your pain. On the contrary, it is in your most shattered moments that my arms are wrapped the tightest around you. I am not a craftsman who discards a vessel just because it has been cracked. I am the Creator, and I specialize in making masterpieces out of broken pieces. Today, I am asking you to stop trying to heal yourself. Breathe, release the heavy weight, place those sharp, broken fragments into my hands, and let me begin my mending work. I know that opening your hands terrifies you, my child. When you have been hurt so deeply, your natural instinct is to build a fortress. I see the way your jaw tightly clenches when certain memories suddenly flood your mind. I notice the physical tightness in your chest, the way your breathing becomes shallow and rapid when anxiety tries to convince you that you are still in danger. I see how your hands instinctively curl into fists, holding tightly onto the pain, because somehow carrying that familiar ache feels safer than risking another betrayal. You have convinced yourself that if you keep your heart locked away behind high walls of cold silence, no one will ever be able to shatter it again. But my beloved, a fortress built out of fear eventually becomes a lonely prison. And I did not breathe the breath of life into your lungs for you to simply survive in a dark, isolated cell. I created you to live abundantly, to experience a peace that reaches the absolute depths of your soul, and to love without the constant shadow of past trauma hovering over you. Do not be ashamed of your hesitation. I am not a hurried God. I am not standing over you with a ticking clock, demanding that you heal by tomorrow morning. I am the gentle potter. When a clay vessel is broken, the world might sweep the shattered shards away, deeming it useless and ruined. But I gather every single piece, even the pieces you think are too jagged, too small, or too stained by your past mistakes. I do not just glue you back together to look exactly the way you did before the storm. I am pouring the pure, radiant, liquid gold of my grace into every single crack. The places where you were broken the most are about to become the very places where my light shines through you the brightest. Right now you feel the ache, and the enemy whispers that this sorrow is a permanent life sentence. He tells you that your best, most joyful days are buried forever in the past. But I tell you today, that is a lie straight from the darkness. Feel the heavy tension in your back, the chronic stiffness in your neck. That is the exhausting physical weight of trying to be your own protector. Lay it down today. You do not need to defend yourself anymore. I am your defender. I am your shield. I am the faithful keeper of your fragile heart. Just breathe right now, slowly and deeply. Let the tense muscles in your face relax. Give me permission to touch the very wound you have kept hidden from the rest of the world. Let me speak directly to the memories that still haunt you in the quiet, lonely hours of the night. I see the way your stomach suddenly drops and your throat tightens when a certain name is mentioned, or when a familiar place brings back a sudden flood of painful flashbacks. I hear the subtle tremble in your voice when you try to explain your past, quickly changing the subject so the tears do not have the time to fall. You have spent so many hours replaying the moments you were hurt, wondering what you did wrong. You have analyzed every word, every action, carrying the suffocating burden of their betrayal or departure as if it were your own personal failure. But hear my voice above the loud noise of your regrets. Their inability to value you did not decrease your worth. The way they treated you was a reflection of their own brokenness, not a measure of your significance. You have been waiting for an apology that may never arrive. You have been waiting for them to finally realize what they lost. But my child, holding tightly onto that expectation is only keeping your deepest wounds wide open. Do you feel that constant, dragging heaviness in your legs when you wake up? Do you feel that profound, bone-deep fatigue that even a full night of sleep cannot cure? That is not just physical aging. That is the exhausting physical toll of dragging the ghosts of your past into your present. You are carrying people on your back who were never meant to journey with you into your future. Today, I am asking you to let them go. Release the desperate need for earthly closure, because I am your closure. You do not need their validation to be made whole, because the Creator of the universe has already declared you entirely worthy. Isaiah 61:3 promises that I will give you a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. But hear me, my beloved. You cannot receive the crown of beauty if your hands are still desperately clutching the ashes of your past. Open your hands right now. It hurts, I know. Pulling a deep thorn out always causes a brief moment of pain, but it is the absolute only way the infection can finally leave your body. Let me gently pull those thorns of rejection, betrayal, and bitter memories out of your spirit. Breathe out the resentment. Breathe in my perfect, unwavering peace. You are safe here. Let my healing waters wash over the places they bruised. Do you remember the nights you sat entirely alone, surrounded by a silence so heavy it almost felt suffocating? I know how the absolute quietness of a room can amplify the loud, anxious voices in your head. I see the way your fingers nervously tap against the arm of your chair, the way you unconsciously bite the inside of your lip, and the restless, nervous energy in your legs when you try to just sit still. That is not just a meaningless physical habit. That is the physical manifestation of a mind that is exhausted but refuses to rest. A mind desperately trying to calculate the future, predict the next disaster, and figure out how to survive entirely on its own. You have prayed for a breakthrough. You have begged for doors to open and for the pain to finally stop. And when the answer did not come immediately, when the days turned into weary months and the months stretched into years, you assumed I was ignoring you. You looked at the closed doors and the silent heavens, and the enemy quickly whispered that your prayers were just bouncing off the ceiling. He tried to convince you that you simply were not important enough for me to answer. But listen to me very carefully, my beloved child. My silence is never my absence. When a master teacher is giving a final exam, he is always silent. Not because he has left the room, but because he is allowing his student to grow. When a master gardener plants a precious seed, the soil above it is completely silent. The breaking of the seed, the violent tearing of its shell to produce a root, happens in total darkness, completely hidden from the human eye. I have not been ignoring you. I have been carefully preparing you. If I had handed you the heavy, monumental blessing you were asking for, while your hands were still shaking with anxiety, while your heart was still fragile and bleeding from unhealed trauma, the sheer weight of that blessing would have crushed you. You thought the long waiting season was a cruel punishment, but I tell you today, it was my divine protection. I was strengthening your spiritual bones. I was teaching your roots to go deeper, so that when the winds of change finally blow, you will never be uprooted again. Stop fighting the waiting season. Feel the rapid, anxious beating of your heart begin to slow down right now. Breathe in my profound stillness. I am working behind the scenes in magnificent ways your earthly eyes cannot yet comprehend. Your breakthrough is not delayed. It is being perfected. Look at yourself through my eyes for just a moment, my beloved. I know there are days when you look in the mirror and all you see are your flaws, your past mistakes, and the scars left behind by people who did not know how to love you. I see the way you unconsciously lower your head when you feel inadequate. I notice the physical shrinking of your posture when the enemy whispers that you are damaged goods, that you have made too many mistakes, or that you have wandered too far away for my grace to reach you. Shame has woven itself so deeply into your muscles that you walk through life constantly bracing for rejection before it even happens. But that heavy, suffocating cloak of shame was never yours to wear. You have let the dirt of the storms you walk through convince you that you are permanently stained. But I am not a God who is afraid of your dirt. When Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, he did not demand that they clean themselves first. He knelt down in the dust and the grime of their journey, and he washed them with his own hands. I am doing the exact same thing for your weary heart today. The world evaluates your worth based on your achievements, your spotless record, and how well you can keep everything perfectly put together. But my economy of grace works entirely differently. I do not love you because you are perfect. I love you because you are mine. Isaiah 43:1 declares, I have called you by name. You are mine. You are not the sum of your broken relationships. You are not the mistakes you made in seasons of deep survival and panic. You are not the label that your trauma tried to permanently brand onto your spirit. Feel the rigid tension in your shoulders begin to physically melt away as you accept this unshakable truth. There is absolutely nothing you could ever do to make me love you less. The grace I am pouring over you right now is washing away every false identity you have adopted. You are not forgotten. You are not a failure. You are my masterpiece, currently undergoing a beautiful, divine restoration. Breathe in that complete freedom and let the old, heavy chains of self-condemnation finally fall to the ground. Now that the heavy chains of shame have fallen, my child, I want to heal something even deeper within you, your ability to trust. I see the way you unconsciously cross your arms tightly over your chest whenever someone tries to get emotionally close to you. It is a physical barricade, an instinctual shield designed to guard a heart that has been bruised too many times. I notice how your body stiffens, and you subtly flinch at sudden changes in someone's tone of voice, always anticipating conflict or rejection. You have learned to walk on eggshells, constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, because in your past, peace was always temporary, and love always came with incredibly painful conditions. You have spent so much of your precious energy in a state of hypervigilance. You constantly analyze every text, every look, and every word, trying to protect yourself from the next betrayal. Sometimes you even push people away just to see if they will fight to stay, simply because you are absolutely terrified of being abandoned when you least expect it. That is a paralyzing, exhausting way to live, my beloved. It drains the very life and vitality out of your bones. But hear me today. I am not like those who hurt you. My love does not come with hidden clauses, shifting moods, or expiration dates. When I promise that I am with you, I do not mean just until you make a mistake, or until your emotions become too heavy for others to handle. I mean forever. Romans 8:38 declares that absolutely nothing can separate you from my love. You do not have to earn your place in my heart, and you never have to worry about me walking away when things get difficult. I am asking you to let your arms fall to your sides, uncross them, unclench your hands, and open your chest to the light. I am replacing your thick walls of isolation with divine discernment. When you build your entire identity on my unconditional love, you will no longer be destroyed when fragile human beings fail you, because your anchor is secured in the divine. You are going to learn how to love again, not out of a desperate, fearful need to be accepted, but from a place of profound, unshakable wholeness. Breathe deeply into your chest right now. Feel the physical expansion in your lungs as old fears leave and divine courage enters. I know the specific fear that visits you when the house is quiet and you are left entirely alone with your thoughts. It is the heavy, suffocating fear that it is simply too late for you. I see the way your gaze drifts into the distance, your eyes staring blankly at the wall as you replay decades of decisions. I hear those long, incredibly heavy sighs that escape your lips, the kind of sigh that carries the weight of 1,000 what-ifs and if-onlys. You feel a literal, physical, dragging sensation in your limbs when you think about the years you believe you have completely wasted. You look at your age, you look at the time that has slipped through your fingers, and the enemy cruelly whispers that your best chapters have already been written, and all that is left is a quiet, fading epilogue. But my child, the creator of time is not bound by the clock on your wall or the calendar on your desk. You measure your life in chronological years, but I measure your life in divine seasons. You have spent so much energy grieving the time you lost to the wrong relationships, the years stolen by illness, depression, or paralyzing fear, and the seasons swallowed up by the exhausting task of simply trying to survive. You feel like a withered tree that missed its chance to bloom, assuming you have permanently missed your appointed time. But I am the God of resurrection and restoration. Joel 2:25 is not just an ancient verse, it is my personal, binding promise to you today. I will restore to you the years that the swarming locusts have eaten. I can accomplish more in a single, divinely ordained moment of favor than you could in 20 years of your own striving. Your story is not winding down. It is merely pivoting to the most profound, impactful chapter of your entire life. I want you to physically lift your chin right now. Stop looking down at the ground in defeat. Stop looking over your shoulder at a past you cannot change. Lift your head and look forward. The years behind you were not wasted. They were the severe, necessary training ground for the deep wisdom and unshakable grace you carry today, you are not running out of time. You are stepping into your appointed season. Breathe in the reality that your future is still vibrantly alive. My precious child, let us talk about the way you view your own reflection. I see how you constantly try to make yourself small. I notice the way you lower your voice in conversations, hoping not to be an inconvenience to anyone. I see the physical tendency you have to fold your body inward, to stand quietly in the back of the room, and to immediately cast your eyes downward when someone looks at you. You have spent so many years being told, either by cruel, careless words or by profound, silent neglect, that you simply do not matter. You have absorbed the devastating lie that you are a burden, that your needs are too much, and that you must shrink yourself just to be tolerated. That physical shrinking is the posture of a soul that has been bullied into forgetting its royal lineage. The enemy absolutely loves it when you feel invisible. He rejoices when you apologize for simply existing. But listen to me. I did not form you in your mother's womb for you to live as an apology. I did not breathe my divine eternal breath into your lungs for you to hide in the cold shadows of other people's lives. Hear my voice breaking through those heavy decades of insecurity. You are not an afterthought. You are not a secondary character in your own story. You are a meticulously crafted masterpiece. Ephesians 2:10 declares that you are my handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which I prepared in advance for you. I took my absolute time when I created you. I did not rush. I placed specific gifts, a profoundly unique voice, and a deep capacity for love inside you that this broken world desperately needs right now. I want you to physically roll your shoulders back right now. Take a deep, steadying breath and lift your gaze. Stop shrinking to fit into spaces and relationships you have already outgrown. Stop lowering your voice to accommodate the insecurities of others. I am restoring your divine confidence today. The mending I am doing in your broken heart is not just to stop the bleeding, it is to completely resurrect your true identity. You belong to the King of Kings. Breathe in that truth and allow yourself to finally take up the space I created for you. Do you notice how difficult it is for you to simply sit still without feeling a sudden, paralyzing wave of guilt? I see the way your hands are always moving, always fixing, always reaching out to manage a crisis or take care of someone else's needs. I notice the chronic tightness in your jaw, the tense knots of anxiety resting heavily in your stomach, and the shallow, hurried way you breathe because your mind is endlessly running through a checklist of expectations you feel you must meet. The moment you try to rest, your body rebels, convincing you that if you are not being productive, you are failing. You have spent so much of your life believing that love is a transaction. Somewhere along the way, you absorbed the devastating lie that if you stop being incredibly useful, if you stop being the strong one who sacrifices everything to rescue everyone else, you will quickly be abandoned. Because of this, you have become physically and spiritually depleted from overfunctioning. You carry the emotional weight of every room you walk into, constantly reading the shifting moods of others, exhausting yourself by adjusting your own behavior just to keep the peace. You have mistaken chronic people-pleasing for peacemaking, and you have drained your own spirit dry trying to pour from a cup that has been empty for years. But my beloved child, this endless frantic striving is a trauma response, not a spiritual calling. Remember Martha in the scriptures, who was frantic, distracted and exhausted from trying to serve and manage everything, while Mary simply sat quietly at my feet. I did not praise Martha's chaotic anxiety. I gently told her that Mary had chosen the better, necessary part. You have been running on fumes like Martha, but today I am calling you to the profound, quiet peace of Mary. Hear my voice of liberation today. You do not have to perform to earn my presence. I do not love you for what you can do for me or for what you can do for others. I love you simply because you exist. I want you to physically open your clenched hands right now. Uncurl your tired fingers. Place them gently, empty and open, on your lap. Give yourself the divine permission to stop fixing the entire world. You are not the savior, I am. Breathe out that heavy, suffocating expectation. Breathe in my unmerited, unconditional rest. Let us talk about the way you stand at the edge of your future, my child. I see the subtle, almost imperceptible way you hold your breath whenever you are forced to make a decision. I feel the sudden icy paralysis that grips your chest and the heavy, sinking sensation in your stomach when you think about stepping into the unknown. You have become absolutely terrified of making another mistake, because your past is littered with painful detours, broken promises, and situations that completely fell apart. Your mind has convinced you that moving forward is simply too dangerous. You have developed a crippling perfectionism. You stay up late into the night, endlessly calculating every possible outcome, trying to forcefully control tomorrow so you will never have to experience that devastating pain again. But my beloved, that desperate need for absolute control is not wisdom. It is unresolved trauma trying to steer the wheel of your life. When you try to micromanage your own destiny out of fear, you physically lock up. Your muscles become incredibly rigid. Your neck aches with chronic tension, and you remain completely frozen in a season you were supposed to walk out of months ago. Hear my gentle correction today. You do not have to have the entire map memorized to take the next step. Psalm 119:105 says that my word is a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path. Notice that it is a lamp for your feet, illuminating just enough for the very next step, not a blinding spotlight that reveals the entire horizon. I'm not asking you to figure out the next 5 years. I'm only asking you to trust me with today. I want you to physically unlock your knees right now. Stop standing so rigidly in defiance of the future. Let out that long, deep breath you have been anxiously holding in your chest. The suffocating pressure to perfectly orchestrate your own life is officially lifted off your shoulders. Even if you stumble, my hand is already there to catch you. You cannot ruin the divine, eternal purpose I have placed on your life by taking an imperfect step, because my grace is infinitely bigger than your human miscalculations. Breathe in my sovereign protection and allow yourself the profound freedom to move forward without fear. Let us speak about the times you cry in absolute secret, my beloved child. I see the frantic way you aggressively wipe your tears away the moment you hear footsteps approaching. I feel the tight, agonizing lump in your throat when you force yourself to smile and tell people, I am fine, while your spirit is completely breaking in two. I notice how you physically isolate yourself the moment your heart begins to ache. You retreat into dark, quiet rooms, curling your body inward, deeply convinced that your grief is simply too ugly, too heavy, or too complicated for anyone else to handle. You have spent so much of your life believing the devastating lie that your pain makes you a burden. Because fragile human beings have grown tired of your sorrow in the past, or because you were taught that you must always be the strong one, you quietly project that exact same limitation onto me. You treat your prayers like a timed presentation, rushing through your tears and quickly apologizing for your emotions, terrified that if you show me how truly broken you are, even heaven will grow exhausted by your weeping. But my precious child, I am not a fragile human whose patience eventually runs dry. I am the infinite creator of the universe. Your sorrow does not intimidate me. Your messy, complicated, tangled emotions do not drive me away. When you bring your unedited, raw, bleeding heart to me, You are not being a burden. You are simply being my child. Psalm 56. 8 declares that I keep track of all your sorrows, and I have collected every single one of your tears in my bottle. You are so profoundly cherished that even your salt water is incredibly precious to me. I want you to physically relax your throat right now. Stop swallowing your cries. Stop forcing that painful, exhausted smile when you are standing in my presence. You do not have to be strong here. Let the tears fall freely. Do not wipe them away in shame. Let the walls of your polite, perfectly composed prayers completely crumble. Weep if you need to weep. Tremble if you need to tremble. I am holding you through every single sob, and I am not going anywhere. Now that the walls have crumbled and your tears are finally falling freely, my child, let me show you exactly what I am doing with the pieces of your broken heart. I know the literal, physical ache you have been carrying in the very center of your chest. I know that hollow, agonizing, sinking sensation that makes it incredibly difficult to take a full, deep breath. Heartbreak is not just a spiritual metaphor. It is a severe physical trauma that has left you feeling completely winded, as if all the oxygen has been violently knocked out of your lungs. You looked at the shattered fragments of your joy, your trust, and your dreams, and you assumed that you would walk with a permanent, painful limp in your spirit for the rest of your life. You convinced yourself that you would never be able to love deeply again, never laugh without a heavy shadow of sorrow, and never feel truly whole. But my beloved, fragile human hands can only attempt to glue things back together. Divine hands completely recreate. I am not just putting your heart back into its old, familiar shape. The old shape was far too small, too restricted, and too fragile for the magnificent season you are about to step into. I am taking every single jagged, bleeding fragment, and I am gently mending them together with the pure, unbreakable gold of my grace. The very places where you were cut the deepest are currently becoming the places where your capacity to receive my unconditional love is expanding the most. I want you to place your hand over your heart right now. Feel the steady, persistent beating beneath your chest. Every single beat is a miraculous, undeniable declaration that you have survived. The enemy tried to stop that rhythm, but he completely failed. Take a long, deep breath right now. Feel your lungs expand fully. Notice how that crushing, agonizing pressure on your sternum is finally beginning to lift. I am breathing my own eternal breath into your weary lungs today. The sudden, paralyzing panic that used to wake you up at 3 a.m. is being permanently replaced by a profound, rhythmic peace. You are going to breathe easier today, my child. The mending has already begun. Let us speak about the dark rooms you have been hiding in, my child. I know how comforting the shadows can feel when the light outside seems too harsh, too demanding, and too bright for a soul that is actively bleeding. I see the physical toll that this prolonged isolation has taken on you. I look into your eyes, the beautiful eyes I designed to reflect the very light of heaven, and I see how dull, tired, and heavy they have become. I notice the way you constantly cast your gaze downward, staring at the floor when you walk, avoiding direct eye contact because you are terrified that if someone looks too closely, they will see the absolute ruins of your broken heart. Your vision has become literally narrowed by your trauma, making you physically squint and brace yourself for the next piece of bad news. You have pulled the spiritual curtains tight, locked the door, and convinced yourself that if you just stay hidden, you can simply survive the rest of your life without ever getting hurt again. But my beloved, I did not breathe eternal life into your lungs for you to merely survive in a dark, lonely tomb of your own making. Just as I stood outside the tomb of Lazarus and called him forth from the grave, I am standing outside the heavy doors of your isolation today, calling you by your true, redeemed name, The mending I am doing inside your chest right now is directly connected to the clearing of your vision. When your heart was shattered, your perspective became severely distorted. You looked at your future and saw only endless, lonely days. You looked at other people and saw only potential betrayers. But as I seal the deep cracks in your heart with my golden grace, I am also washing your tired eyes with my truth. I want you to physically lift your head right now. Stop staring at the ground. Open your eyes fully and look forward. The heavy dark fog of depression and chronic anxiety that has blurred your vision for years is actively lifting at this very second. You are going to step out of that dark room. You are going to feel the warmth of the sun on your face, and you will not shrink back from it. I am restoring your spiritual sight, enabling you to clearly see the magnificent, vibrant future I have prepared for you. Breathe in the light, my child. Your season of hiding is over. Let us talk about the way you step into your future, my beloved. For the longest time, I watched you drag your feet. I saw the literal, physical exhaustion in your limbs, the way you leaned against walls for support, completely drained by the sheer effort it took just to exist with a shattered heart. You walked as if you were carrying a heavy, invisible backpack filled with the heavy stones of rejection, failed expectations, and deep, unhealed trauma. Every single step forward felt like wading through thick, suffocating quicksand, and I know there were days your knees simply buckled under the unbearable weight of it all. But as my divine mending takes root deep inside your chest today, something miraculous is happening to your physical body. That crippling, invisible weight is finally falling off your shoulders. I want you to feel the sudden, profound lightness returning to your limbs right now. I know there is still a subtle trembling in your hands when you think about starting over. I see your hesitation to touch anything new because you are terrified that history will cruelly repeat itself. You are afraid to hope, afraid to build, and afraid to invest your mended heart again. But I am reaching down at this very moment and completely steadying your trembling hands. You do not have to be afraid of the future anymore, because the heart I have recreated inside of you is no longer fragile. It has been fortified by my eternal spirit. The very things that used to break you will no longer even bruise you. You are not stepping into this new season with a patched up, delicate spirit. You are stepping into it with a warrior's heart wrapped in profound, unshakable grace. I want you to physically plant your feet firmly on the floor right now. Feel the solid, unshakable ground beneath you. You are no longer sinking. Isaiah 40:31 promises that those who wait upon the Lord will completely renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. I am actively infusing your tired bones with that exact heavenly vitality today. Step forward with absolute quiet authority. Do not hesitate. The ground you are walking on is completely secured by my sovereign hand. Breathe in this new, vibrant strength. My beloved child, look at yourself one more time after this moment we have shared. I see that your facial muscles have completely relaxed. The heavy, anxious furrow in your brow has smoothed out, and your breathing is no longer shallow or rushed like it was when we first began. That crushing leaden weight on your chest has entirely dissolved. Do you feel that profound, steady warmth flowing through your veins right now? That is not just a fleeting emotion. That is my eternal seal of peace placed upon your newly mended heart. Your hands are no longer clenched into defensive fists. They are open, soft, and completely ready to receive new blessings. Your eyes, which were once clouded with doubt and deep despair, are now reflecting the brilliant, radiant dawn of heaven. You are no longer a victim of your past wounds. You are not an unfinished book, abandoned because of a few tear-stained chapters. Today, I am officially turning to a completely new page in your life. The enemy sneered, convinced that this heartbreak would permanently define you, that you would spend the rest of your life shrinking back in isolation and fear. But he was entirely wrong. Your heart is now beating with the undeniable rhythm of resurrection. Your resilience, your profound softness, after surviving such violent storms, is the greatest testament to my glory. The deep cracks that once bled have been completely filled with the pure gold of my grace, making you more radiant, beautiful, and valuable than ever before. Stretch out your arms and stand up tall, my son, my daughter. Do not be afraid to smile. Do not suppress the joy that is actively blooming in your soul right now. From this day forward, whenever you look in the mirror, I do not want you to see the scars of betrayal or exhaustion. I want you to see a warrior who walked through the valley of the shadow of death by faith and survived. You survived, not by carrying it all alone, but because I carried you in my arms during the days you could not take another step. Now step out into the world. Do not carry any luggage from yesterday. Your future is not built on what you lost. It is built on the absolute abundance I am pouring into you right now. If you receive this complete healing, if you feel my perfect peace wrapping around your soul, leave an amen below this message as a declaration of your faith. Subscribe and share this light with someone else who is crying in the dark, so they know they are not alone either. I love you with an everlasting love that will never fade. Go and walk in my absolute freedom, because your heart right in this very moment is completely mended.